Robbie.
Steven, how are you?
Did you do that on purpose? I hate the fact that the last couple podcasts is just, you know what? Not even going to reference it. It's so nice to be in your presence for another episode of the podcast. I like this, by the way, recording in person. It's very nice.
Sitting on a couch.
We started the podcast remote, even though we were in the same city because of your leg.
Yep.
And then we tried to do like some in-person stuff. I went to England. I came back. We did all in-person stuff. We actually did in-person podcast at Freddy's Bar down here in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. A pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
And these last couple of podcasts being in person, I feel it's nice. It's a different, thing, and it feels closer to what the point of the podcast was supposed to be.
Yes. And there's no Zoom delay.
Yes. So if there is a delay, it's because it was awkward in person. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. It's usually Steven staring at me like, what are you saying?
I don't stare.
No. It's a death stare when you do.
Yeah.
Daggers.
That's what you tell me. What are we talking about on the... Well, the title is going to be on there, but...
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size. Catches thieves just like flies. Look out!
He is a Spider-Man.
He's a Spider-Man. He is a Spider.
He does whatever a spider can.
Yes.
I mean, but I think there's a lot of things that Spider does that Spider-Man does not do.
That's true. I mean, he's not injecting people with venom and dissolving them from the inside out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sucking out their juices.
Or standing in one corner of the wall staring at you for the whole day.
No,
Ever
he does
had
that.
Oh, yeah. Likes to stalk Mary Jane.
No, they love each other.
From a distance, he's insane.
That's good. I like that. I mean, I don't like it. I like the rhyme.
Steven Books. He approves.
By the way, just Steven Books. How long have we known each other?
Listen, it's been a while since we sat down and talked like this.
That's true. It's a clean episode. We don't swear. Nothing that you won't hear in the movie. That's kind of our rule on these. We talk about the plot. We talk about the story, how that's all handled. Talk a lot about the style, impact on the wider animation field, and animation technique, acting, what impressed us, what errors we might have caught. We are very careful to not spoil anything that was not in the trailers.
Yeah, I think it's a good conversation, and it's fresh in our brains because we just saw it.
We just saw it. Right now it is 9:45, and the movie was at 4.
Yeah.
So it's going to go up to patrons first, and we have another podcast that's going to be coming up. Hopefully on the back end of that, there's a lot of stories to go through, so we're probably going to do an animation news kind of episode.
So Peter Parker yourself.
Peter Parker
down.
picked a pack of pickled...
You know Spider-Man and his love of pickles.
prunes. Ooh, pickled prunes.
That's my pet name for you.
Pickled prunes.
Pickled prunes.
Old pee-pee. So I want to say welcome to episode 290 of the Rubber Onion Animation Podcast. And this one is simply, not simply, it's a very long one, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse movie review.
Ooh, that's a long, juicy title.
Yeah, it was Spider-Verse, one word or two. I guess it's hyphenated, but it is one word. So I guess you count that as one. So
there's that bridge in the middle.
7. It's called a hyphen. Bridge. It's got the little dash. Got the little dash thing. It's got the minus sign. Spider minus verse.
Spider, platform, and then man. Did you see my Twitter joke where I posted Across the Universe poster, and I said there was not one Spider-Man.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. It's just a lot of moping.
I'm Don Bluth.
I'm Harry Partridge.
Hi, I'm Tom Moore, teenage superhero.
My name's Adam Phillips.
This is Robert Valley.
And I'm in no way doing a forced plug. No, sorry. I won't say that.
Definitely go for that.
And you're listening to...
Robbie.
Stephen Brooks, how are you?
I'm doing well. You want to know why?
Why?
Because you're sitting on my couch.
That's
and
right.
you look really relaxed.
I'm got my shoes off, kicking back. I'm doing a very comfortable pose.
Lean, yeah, nice lean.
Like I feel like I should be singing on top of a piano. With a rose in my mouth.
Sure, I guess so. I was gonna go with a little hot cocoa in your hand.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean it's pretty.
Yeah, sitting on the piano is kind of uncomfortable.
Sure. It's also been today. I will say that we are recording that. Wait, what day is it today? Today is June 8th. My phone says the air quality index is 154. That's
nice.
Less than what it was yesterday, which was 350.
Yeah.
When it kind of looked like any number of things. It looked like Godzilla. It looked like Blade Runner. It looked like Dune.
Yeah.
It looked like a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah.
Take your pick of any of the number of memes. And
I went outside and I smelled urine and I was like, New York's back, baby.
It's not
a nice campfire.
Now it just smells like a campfire that's been put out by urine.
There's only one way to solve this problem.
Well, it's funny because, obviously, we're talking Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
The second in the Spider-Verse films, the animated movie by Sony Pictures Animation, which is set in various New Yorks, which I guess we'll get to. I feel like, it's nice when you see a movie. I think we commented on this in the previous episode. You usually listen to the episodes before our podcast episodes before we do a review of like a sequel or something like that. Did you listen to this one?
I did not.
Because I remember that one of the things that we talked about is how it was like a really good representation of New York.
Yeah. And
how it wasn't just all like downtown Manhattan or, sitcom New York or anything. It felt like...
I gotta say, I think the Super Mario movie represented Brooklyn a lot better than... When I saw the Super Mario movie, I was like, that is New York.
Wait, you're talking the 93, the old
one. No, I'm talking about the one now.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Oh, no?
No,
okay.
I didn't see it. Yeah.
They're in Brooklyn, but it's not, it's movie Brooklyn.
Yeah, sure. No, I didn't see that one. I didn't see that yet. I've been making my way
downtown.
I'm making my way through a lot of different
There's
shows.
a piano I'm sitting on.
We were just talking about Clone High. There's new Clone High, and so I went back and I watched the original, and I've been going through and watching a lot of that. And so I do want to get right into the review.
Yeah.
But before we do that, Robbie.
Yes, Stephen.
Could you explain to our listeners what is the plot without spoilers?
Yeah.
Only stuff that's in the trailers.
All right.
What is the plot of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
All right, let me tell you, folks, if you're a fan of Spider-Man and lots of Spider-Man, you're going to get lots of Spider-Man. Spider-Men, Spider-Women, there's a thick Spider-Man. You ever seen that thick boy? Woo! But before that... We start off with Gwen, Stacy and her world,
Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, and we get a nice big proportion of that before we get into the real meat of the story.
It is exactly 20 minutes. I timed it.
Yeah, and it's really good. It could be its own film.
Yeah.
Then
Maybe
we
it should
see.
have been.
Yeah. Oh my God! Imagine all the Spider-Man get their own little film. That would just be, we'll just die before we reach.
Well,
the end.
not all of them, but yeah. Keep going.
So then we go to Miles Morales.
Yep.
And oh my God! I felt like I had the whole thing stuck in my head. Back into his world, and he, he's going. Our little Miles is growing up.
Go line by line through the whole movie. You do this every time. Just Broad strokes.
Yeah.
Broad strokes. Okay, so we get a Spider-Gwen is a central character this time around.
Yeah.
And then what is the inciting incident? What's the what kicks us off?
We bump into our main villain,
Yes.
which is Spot, which I love.
Which they announced.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I
It's in
will
the
edit out
trailer.
anything. It's in the trailer, and all this is announced. It's all out there.
Yeah, and once he goes in, they get into a little scuffle, a little fisticuffs.
He can do a few, which are really fun because his powers are he creates these dimensional holes. He talks a lot about his holes.
Yeah, a lot of holes.
These dimensional holes where like in let's say in these first couple fights he doesn't have the best control over them, and so he's just kind of like opening up kind of random holes and like portals. It's kind of like the game Portal, where like a hole will open up and you can stick your fist through it and it'll punch someone on the other side of the room or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there is no plot holes in this film. And then fast forward to Spider-Man, who Miles. Oh my God! I almost said Miles Davis. Miles Morales ends up in somehow in a universe that is a lot of spider people, and then it ends.
That's okay. So actually,
He's like, I found my home.
Actually, you know what? Pretty great summation to. I will say one other thing, which is obviously yes, they all he's around all the Spider-Man, and then they need to come up with something to fix this problem. They have like an interdimensional careless villain kind of thing, and they have to try to figure out what to do there, and that's the main plot. But the important thing also to realize is that it is a to be continued. It is a part 1 of 2, and I did not know that going into it, although I should have, because apparently it's everywhere. They announced it last year, and it has been in all the reporting that I have been avoiding because I didn't want to know anything about it. Now, I'm only saying this now without any warning because I wish someone had told me, because when it came to the end, I was like, don't you dare. Don't you dare. It seemed like they were going to end, and they did. And it said, to be continued. And I was...
Yeah, Steve turned to me. He's like, you knew? And I was like... Yeah. Why did you tell me?
I felt so betrayed. I think I literally said, why didn't you tell me? I felt so betrayed. No, so the thing is, I think I've mentioned this before, being it was high school when the first Lord of the Rings came out, like the Peter Jackson movies, the Fellowship of the Ring. Now I had seen The Hobbit. I believe I had seen the Lord of the Rings, like the original animated Lord of the Rings, the Ralph Bakshi one. And I knew that it was, that they were books. I didn't know that it was 3 movies. I didn't know it was split up into 3 movies. Nobody told me that when we were going to go see it. Apparently, everyone just thought that I would know. Nobody talked about it because we didn't really talk about movies before we went to go see them when we did. And I remember when Samwise and Frodo are standing on the mountaintop and they're looking off in the distance and they're like, okay, now we're going to have to go down here and across this place and through this place and then throw the ring into the Mount Doom or whatever the thing is. They like all of that. I just remember kind of like bending my head down to like stretch my back, and I was like, all right, here we go, we're going to the final stretch. I was thinking maybe it's like 20 minutes left, it's a long movie. I didn't know how much time had passed, and I had my head down, and all of a sudden I hear, oh, and like everyone in the theater did that. The people I was with knew, but there was a bunch of people in the theater who did not know. I picked my head up and I was like, what happened? And it said, to be continued on the screen. That's what it felt like. Because to go to a movie, and also it happened again in The Hobbit. because I went to go see it with my brother, and my brother did not know it was, again, split up into 3 movies, because why would you do that to The Hobbit? Because he did read The Hobbit. And we went to go see it, and then at the end, he had the same feeling. He was like, I wonder how they're going to wrap this up.
Yeah.
And it just said to be continued. So I would have preferred to know that going into it, but with this additional information. That means I'm saying something.
Oh, yeah.
With this additional information, which is that they are doing it like Lord of the Rings, in that they are working on both of the movies simultaneously.
Yeah.
So that at least gives a little bit of, I think the heads up is good in that case, because you know that the next movie's coming, and it's probably coming relatively close on the heels, because it's already being worked on. It's not like they have to do what they did last time, which was, I believe I looked at the timeline, right? It was November or something, in November or December in 2018.
Oh, yeah.
When they announced that they were going to do another one. And then the lead animator, I guess, tweeted or something in 2020 that they had started production.
Yeah.
So it was like a year and a half after the announcement, after the writing, after all the pre-production and everything, before I guess animation could really commence, or before they could talk about it. So maybe it was like a year before, which is very fast. And then it was at that point, I guess it then ends up being 3 years for the movie to come out. And that was all, during the pandemic.
Yeah. Do you remember The Simpsons did that joke in their movie? It was like, to be continued. But then it came back. I think this was at...
Oh, yes, no, I do remember that. I just rewatched it. Just rewatched it means probably like last year, but... anyway, so that it's a fine synopsis because that's how it ends. It ends with a to be continued. So you do get a nice arc, but it does leave you in a place that needs resolution.
Yeah.
But thinking on it, I don't feel bad about it leaving off where it did, because there's a lot of more movie to do, and I guess I'm glad that they didn't rush to wrap it up, and it was 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's, I think, probably the thing I'll start with. It is
definitely
a lot of movie.
Definitely got our money's worth. It was They used that time, I think, wisely. There was a lot of moments that was kind of like just stretched out, especially when they went to the Indian Spider-Man.
Yeah. Mumbai. It was like Mumbai, Manhattan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, are they going to use...
Did you know who the guy was?
No.
I recognize his voice. He was in Deadpool.
Oh.
He's the one who drives Deadpool around, and he wants to be like, wants to get revenge or something on like some guy. I forgot. But he's fun in the movie because he's just like, everything's going great for him. He wakes up with perfect hair.
Yeah, don't need to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, they spent like a wise amount of time. There's a lot of, I told you, there was like a lot of movies you watch where you're just like, was that necessary to have it 2 hours and just drag this whole thing?
Yeah.
Very wisely. And knowing that you didn't know, I actually just did the car, but like, what was your thoughts as like, just like, wow, there's a lot happening right now.
I kind of thought that there might be, well, just like I thought with Lord of the Rings. That's what I was saying. I thought there might be a very tight 20 minutes left, where I kind of thought like, okay, so maybe the point of the movie was really to get us here. Like the point of the movie was, and that's a testament, because I thought, like, I knew it was 2 hours and 20 minutes, so I thought we were probably at the 2 hour mark. Yeah, is what it was. Which actually we were at 2 hours and 15 minutes, I think is what it was, because it was 5 minutes of like credits after. And yeah, I think I just thought that it was going to be wrapped up in a maybe a 10-minute battle, and then a 10-minute kind of resolution recap kind of thing.
It's weird. We didn't really hear anything from the crowd. Like, I thought people would be like, "Oh," I didn't hear anything.
No, but also, I think it ended in a way that was not. It wasn't a slam cut to be continued. Like it held there, and it was like, that's why I was like, oh no, because I knew it led up to it. Like I knew that's what it was doing, because it kind of like pushes and
Can you imagine if Titanic did that? It was like, iceberg straight ahead.
Well, they did do that. If you got the VHS, it was a 2 VHS.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a 2 VHS thing. So it comes up, and I forget where it stops, but it stops like, halfway through the movie, and then you have to put in tape 2.
Yeah.
It's like turn this record over.
We watched it the other day, and I fell asleep, and I was just like, oh, I watched a nice movie about a poor boy who fell in love with a rich girl on a nice ship.
Right. Yeah. It's like Old Yeller, that's a Friends reference for those of you who are drinking on this. It's a boy and his dog, happy time on the farm. It's like, yeah, but what about the ending? This one, it's probably a very difficult thing to figure out how to formulate it, because I wouldn't necessarily say it is a full 3-act movie. I'd have to watch it again to really parse it out, because it does kind of have a stutter step in the act 2, I guess. It's maybe how I describe it. It's kind of like an elongated act 2, and then it kind of goes into this what you think is going to be act 3, but obviously if we're going into another movie, that act 3 has to then embody a whole other series of acts. So, and it might not even be 3 acts. They might have formulated it in a 4-act or a 5-act structure, but I'm usually thinking of it in terms of 3-act, because that's just the way that it is. Should we mention, I guess now we could probably mention about the writer strike and animation, because we haven't said anything. We haven't had a podcast, to really...
I mean, to be fair, this podcast is all written, and now we're improving.
Yeah. Right. Well, no, it's written by AI. Remember that was? That's one of the. Yeah. So our last episode was on AI. Can I also share what our second? Because we were going to do 2 stories that episode, which I called it the most controversial episode of Rubber Onion ever. Yeah. Because remember what the second story was supposed to be?
Was it the about those guys on YouTube?
No, it was Velma. It was going to be Velma.
Oh.
We were going to talk about AI and Velma, and I was like, nobody's going to like us after this episode. But then, yes. So then, we just had a lot to say about AI and kind of where that is and where it's going and stuff. And then in the intermediate. Between that podcast and this one, there's a writer's strike. Yeah. And I just have to say that, our jobs were affected, right? I was the animation director for Tuning Out the News. It was announced, so I can say it, that Tuning Out the News isn't getting renewed for a 4th season on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we finished the 2 weeks early, because we were pretty close to the end of our season anyway. And the writer strike happened, right at that, clock strikes midnight kind of thing. And the episode was already written. The episode was already written. So we finished that one out in the next day or 2, put that up on Wednesday. And then we just didn't do the final 2 episodes. So that means that, that show was WGA covered. You do work on The Late Show, which is WGA covered.
Yeah.
So you are also out of work.
That's right.
Yes.
Patreon.
It hasn't been so long that it's been like a desperate search. I mean, I was always going to take a break, so there's always things in between seasons that are a thing. So I haven't really hit the ground on that front. There's always things to kind of wrap up and do, and I have some personal stuff that I want to do. But the point is, most animated shows are not WGA covered. Most animated shows, if they are covered by a union, it's the Animation Guild. It's TAG. And that's no exception for movies either. But most movies, I don't even know what WGA covered animated movies there are, if any. I'm not that attuned to it, but I do know that shows sometimes, like series, sometimes will be WGA covered, like the big ones, like Bob's Burgers and Simpsons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really just about like what the connection is to the production company or whatever the studio is, or the showrunner. If they happen to be in the union, they can like pull the union in. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point is, I mean, it does matter, but like the point is, for this particular conversation, because it is split up into two parts, and because production needs to continue working, even though it's written, a lot of productions have, even though shows have been written, a lot of shows that are WGA covered have shut down production, either out of solidarity or out of real practicality. We don't really work with the union that much in the Writers Guild that much in animation. But this movie, Long Way Around, not WGA covered.
Oh,
so
okay.
Not affected by the writer's strike.
But are they so they're going to continue going?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you kind of want to fine tune this kind of script, because it's a lot.
Well, also to be continued. Like the thing about doing both, I guess, it was something that Lord and Miller, one of them, said something, because they were both, singular entities, but like one of them said that they wrote the sequel, they were writing the sequel, and they just had too much movie, and they thought the right way to tell this story is to split up into two parts, and so that's what they're doing, and they produced it at the same time. Which is good, because usually when you produce something at the same time, while it can come out as soon as next year. I don't really know if it is. It's rare in movies, rarer in animated movies. I actually am not 100% sure if it has been done. I didn't look this up before, but if you have some sort of knowledge of when an animated movie has been...
Oh, like back to back.
A movie and a sequel have been produced at the same time.
Animation, no.
Yeah.
Like I know John Wick is just 24 hours. They never stop making it.
Well,
fighting and shooting.
Right.
They don't turn off the cameras.
Well, I think the first one that did that right was Back to the Future, and Back to the Future was 2 and 3. They did those back to back, and I only remember that because I found out more about the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That I think that was the first time that a trilogy had all been filmed and like made all at the same time. Mm-hmm. I may be wrong about that, but because there are other movies that have been greenlit and produced as as a batch, as a trilogy, but I think that was the first time that it had all been made as one. Like all the production, the pre-production was all done on the trilogy. Is that usually a production was all done on the trilogy?
Because before they didn't do like to be continued, but they'll like hint at something, like they'll see something happen and from a distance and go, "Oh boy, here we go again."
Oh yeah, to set up,
but
so they used to be stingers.
To be continued.
Yeah, they used to be stingers, and I remember reading this, and I feel. I feel a little bad, but also, again, just to repeat that the premise of this podcast is this is just how we talk when we're talking about movies and stuff at like a bar, or if we're sitting awkwardly on a couch together. So fact checking is not like number one on the list. I'll cut it out if I'm wrong, but I do remember reading this, and it might not be entirely true, but I think it is widely accepted that the first end credit stinger was in Masters of the Universe, with Skeletor's hand coming out of the pit. I think so.
Okay.
And that was 80, I don't know, mid 80s, I guess, mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
And then then there was there were some movies that either I remember this a lot in the 90s. Like standing on a cliff and like looking off and like, here we go again. I remember that with Mortal Kombat 1992. I think they.
Oh, was there a cliffhanger?
Yeah, they came home, and they were back at the temple, and then the temple starts to break apart, and you just see this this big figure of Shao Kahn, the big bad, the emperor guy, saying like, now you bested us and now you will die. I don't remember what he was saying, but it was like, I think they actually said, here we go again, or something like that. It was something along those lines. And then they kind of get into fighting position, and then the Mortal Kombat theme plays. And I'm pretty sure that the voice of Shao Kahn was the same as the voice of Goro. And I'm pretty sure that was Frank Welker, who is Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Oh.
And Nibbler from Futurama.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, a little side note, Futurama. The theme song.
Futurama's back.
Oh, yeah, that's coming out too. But the theme song, I heard it in Mean Girls.
Oh, really?
When they're going through all the tables of different things, you hear ding, 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 ding. Not unless it really sounds like it, but something to look forward to after.
I will look. I'll look out for that. What were we even talking about? I just wanted to share the thing about the WGA and how they're making it. And we were talking about the sequels, and I like that they're making it at the same time. And I would love to hear about the production of this, and I would love to hear if this is the first time that an animated movie has been. Let's go Western animated movie, because I can't keep track of like every movie from every country, but let's say like an American, Hollywood style, like, big budget animated film. I feel like this is probably the first one that has been produced at the same not back to back, really at the same time. Like, it's not you do one and then you do the other. Because I think that happens, but where the writing for both happens at the same time. The pre-production of both happens at the same time. The production it's all done as one unit. And the only reason that this movie was finished is obviously you have like the shots to consider. You're doing that kind of thing first. Mm-hmm. I liked it. I think that it might end up making for a very, very interesting third movie, because it's going to have that style, but there's all sorts of things you learn in the progress. Even though you're doing all this R&D and all this pre-production during the course of a movie, you learn a lot. Just like on a show, you learn a lot throughout the course of making it. And sometimes you get to the end of, like, I know whenever we got to the end of any season of anything, it was always like, God, we learned so much, and we just didn't have the time to go back and implement it. Now that we're going to the next season, we'll implement it that time. And I kind of wonder if that'll happen on this one, if they just kind of learn so much about how to implement certain things or stuff that they wanted to do that they couldn't.
Did you see the first one recently?
No. So I was going to rewatch it, but I didn't.
I kind of want to see it to see how, like, if you look at Toy Story 1.
Right.
And in Toy Story 2, there's a huge difference.
I will say I watched clips. I didn't watch the full movie because I wanted to be refreshed on the style.
Yeah.
And the style in this one is so much more than the style in that one. I mean, I remember that being that kind of like, it broke the idea of what a CG animated movie style could or should be.
Yeah.
The use of that chroma offset for the blur in the background, the textural style. I mean, we'd seen examples of that. We'd seen examples of like drawing lines on the face of a CG character, and it mapping
Charlie
onto
Brown.
them. Charlie Brown. Obviously, we all know how Paperman how Paperman was made. In my head, I went Paperman, and then I was gonna say made, and so it came out Paperman.
Papermaid.
We all know how that was made, and then there's just been a lot of things. There was was it Feast, the one with the dog, right?
Oh yeah,
with the painterly kind of lines and or the effect to it, and so.
And now the Ninja Turtles, there.
Ninja Turtles, yes, but that's out now. And then there's, I just feel like we had seen that kind of stuff, but there were other things that were in there, and the rendering of the blur I thought was really interesting, and the way that they used speech bubbles, and everyone. I was so happy that it made everyone aware of what ones and twos are in animation, because that's always been one of those things that like people are just like, what? Why? It was like, but seeing it in a big budget movie like that, I heard people who didn't know anything about animation say like, yeah, I heard they like they do like one drawing for like every 2 frames. And I was like, this is the first time I think I've ever really heard someone talk about kind of technical conventions in animation.
Yeah.
Just like out in the world, like at a bar, some random person, not an animator, someone who just had like seen the movie and was just like interested in it, had heard about it. Thought that was really cool.
They scaled it back this time, right?
Yes, yeah. It's not as much frame ramping in this one.
There's small moments where you see it, but not
right.
much.
Yeah, there's moments that they use it, but in the way that you would just in any movie.
Yeah.
There's like a couple moments where like Gwen is like sneaking up on something, and she's on 2s, and then she kind of like hops up on something, she's on 1s. It's pretty normal stuff.
Yeah.
But no, the main thing that I realized was when we had that opening with Gwen. So I guess we're talking style now, but the main thing with Spider-Gwen's world, it has this pastel watercolor marker kind of, I can't, Coptic, forget what's called, Copic marker style.
Yeah. Almost some watercolors.
Yes, and I didn't want to say strictly watercolor because sometimes it feels brushier than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it's a little thicker than that, but I'm not very well versed in that medium, like the results of different,
yeah. I guess that was my favorite part of just the way. Sometimes like the characters would just be in like a solid color,
Right. And that's from the comic, because I read that comic, that whole 20-minute thing of explaining her backstory, that is the initial run of Spider-Gwen, which I bought when it came out. I loved it. The style's great. She's a drummer, and all the frames when she's drumming and telling her story, like that whole thing is from the comics, and so it's so fun to see it up on screen. Yeah. I'm sure that we're, who knows if we're going to find out something about like, the original artist was not credited or something like that, or, that I'm sure that there's going to be some sort of conversation about, the original comic artists and, not being credited for their, stylization of things. Like I remember Hawkeye, I think had the Hawkeye TV show, I think had some stylized sequences that people were like, oh, this is really great. And I was like, oh yeah, that's from the comic. And I was like kind of excited about it. And then I found out that I think the artist was kind of sour about it because they didn't credit them, didn't ask them anything. They just kind of like saw it and they just used it. I don't know how that works in property rights or kind of thing. If you have the rights for this, does that equate to the style that goes into it based on the artist? Because the artist was credited the first time around, but when you translate it to another medium, I'm not sure how that works, but that is probably a much bigger conversation, and one I am not ready to have right now because I don't really know the ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
But that style was really fun. It was really great. And it did feel a lot like the comics. He'd be standing in a doorway and his pants, which are like navy blue, are now pink. And his shirt is white, which, was like, I think like a light blue or something like that. And, it was kind of shifting colors for different dramatic elements. And so when things were bad, when things were sad, he was in kind of shadow and darkness, and the background lighting situation all changed based on whatever she was feeling. And then when they were having this argument, all of the paint, like I noticed this, everything, there were more horizontals, I guess, shelves and whatever, window frames. There were more horizontals when the initial scene was going on, and then when they started arguing, everything became vertical. Like all the brush strokes were all down, and it just felt like rain on a window pane. It just felt like the paint was running.
Yeah.
It was like kind of like tears, kind of that stylized. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then at the end of the movie, they literally use that. They literally drip paint down the walls during like a very emotional moment. And I was like, I felt very smart in the beginning, and at the end, I was like, oh, okay, well, you're kind of just doing it now.
You were right.
Yeah.
It was very like what is it, noir looking, but.
Spider-Gwen? I don't think it was noir.
Well, as the shot setup
I see what you're saying.
But a colorful version.
Colorful noir. That's funny because noir means black. Which is like, everything is in like deep, hard shadows and things. That's funny. I wonder if you call it like color.
Yeah. Canar?
No. I mean, I actually saying like color, where instead of it being just solid inking and painting, comic book noir or noir movies, which I think it's a double thing. I think it's supposed to reference the style and the like dark nature of the story. Yeah. I think it's a double meaning.
Now, are they aware? Like, it seems like they're more aware of them being a comic book. Like, whenever they introduce a character, a comic book would come out, and they did lay out everything.
Yep.
I think the best way that any comic book kind of movie, when the Hulk, for example, when they're
Ang Lee's,
your favorite movie,
Ang Lee's Hulk. Yes.
Yeah, the Hulk. When they laid out the comic strip, it was, I don't know, it just seemed kind of corny.
It was a little silly. It was a little hokey. Yeah.
And this one did it like just a perfect way of setting it up.
Yeah, because the tone I think of that movie was different than this one. Like you can't have kind of a serious tone, and then in that movie there was like an explosion that happened, and a guy whose arm was in a sling was like, kind of like flying toward the screen. This was an Ang Lee's Hulk. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Flies toward the screen and then pauses. Yeah. Does this freeze frame, and then it turns into like this panel. And it's like, oh, he's dead. And that was just a death panel, and it's kind of this silly thing where I think it just fits the tone of this movie a bit.
But it helps that it's animated
better
too. It
helps that it's animated, but I mean, I feel like you can do it in other ways. But it helps that it's animated. We just watched Tank Girl yesterday.
Oh yeah,
Tank Girl had comic panel moments, which I think I told you I read. Jamie Hewlett said, which is just fun, by the way, seeing and Pete Candland with the animated sequences. I think it was like directed by Mike Smith. The animated sequence in the middle of the movie, and then the animated ending in Tank Girl.
Yeah,
that was, we talked about him when we talked about the top 5 best animated music videos of all time. We talked about Clint Eastwood. Mm-hmm. That was him. Jamie Hewlett was a co-creator of Gorillaz, also a co-creator of Tank Girl. it was a fun day just to watch that movie on the big screen. Wild, very 90s.
Yeah.
This one I think is going to go down as very 2020s.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, yes. This is going to be one of those that you watch and just go like, this is.
Are we gonna get irritated with this style?
Yes.
Like now that the Turtles movie is coming out and it's very similar.
Yes.
What I admire about this style is like you look at movies and you look at the concept art before it,
Right.
and you're like, wow, I wish they kind of went that route, the way it looks, and this is pretty much doing like using the concept art as the final product.
Well, I think we mentioned this with our review. The video we did a video review of Rise of the Guardians, and I liked Rise of the Guardians. I liked the world. I didn't the movie, sort of, and the style. I wasn't thrilled about the style because I just felt like I remember I saw the art of, and I was just like, the art of book is amazing. It's amazing, and then I just felt like a lot of it was lost.
Yeah.
When it got translated to the movie, when it finally got made. Directed by Peter Ramsey.
Yeah.
Directed Spider-Verse. And
It's all
so
webbing together.
yeah, it's like, and I think I mentioned that actually when we did our first Spider-Verse review, was that it was kind of like him being able to really do like this, like really do what he wanted to do. I mean, I'm assuming he wanted to do it because the pre-production art was there, and it was based off of a book, and the book illustrations are really great. And to take those to and I'm talking Rise of the Guardians, but to take that to a place where the concept art is so vibrant and so unique and so I felt like it just got squeezed down in a way that felt, it was like the movie was great fun, just felt like it kind of lost something in that translation. And then I assumed that that was something that he wanted to do, was try to maintain that like that excitement that you get in pre-production during those phases of the exploratory designs, and like, how much can we have all this technology, we can do this.
Yeah.
And he was really able to shepherd that through. And this movie is that times, I would say, exactly 6. because of the like the different varying styles that they're playing with.
Yeah. I will say, yeah, and definitely the different worlds, and there's so much that you can do as far as like bringing these characters to each kind of world that it makes sense to drag it out as much as possible.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know if I should. Let me see. If you're a fan of certain characters in the first one, it might be a little disappointing.
Well, no, I mean, it's already been announced that like that like Nicolas Cage is not voicing in this movie. It's not the same characters, but I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I mean, there's one of the fun things about that first movie was being introduced to all these different spider personas that we didn't know.
Yeah.
And now you get even more. And I think
true.
they can exist side by side, I think.
Oh yeah, this could have been its own. It stands alone. Like it could be.
It does. It really does. And actually, they recap so well all the stories.
Yeah.
That I think it. You don't need to watch the first movie to watch this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I would recommend you do.
I would recommend you do.
Oh, I'm like, what is this? It's
my Switch controller. I've been playing Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
There is a new Spider-Man game out, I think, isn't there?
I just saw the trailer for it. Spider-Man 2, I guess is what they're calling it, but it's technically the third. I think it's like Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 1.5, Spider-Man 2. It looks amazing. It looks
amazing, Spider-Man.
Yeah. It looks ridiculously like. I have a Switch. I think The Legend of Zelda looks really nice. It's really beautiful. When I'm up on the mountain, I'm just looking around the sunset. It's like, it looks all nice. And then I saw that footage and I was like, this is just a movie.
Yeah.
That PlayStation 5 footage, I don't, it's so detailed. I don't know if I can get on board with that. What might be really interesting if they did a Spider-Verse game. That would be very interesting.
I miss the days where they made like games from the movie, but it never worked out because they usually made the games way before the movie.
Right. Well, the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original NES game coming out just as the cartoon was launching, because they wanted to do a parallel thing. They wanted to launch the toys and launch the show and the game and do everything all at once. But they had the cover. I always remember looking at the cover and just seeing 4 red headbands and like, why are there 4 Raphaels? And I learned through local bookshop that had comic books, the Book Nook. And the guy was like, "Yeah, here's the comic. They all had red headbands. You know, the cartoon's the one that gave them all the colored headbands." And I don't know if I ever looked this up, if this is true or not. I'm saying that a lot in this episode. I should probably know more stuff.
Rumor has it.
Rumor has it. Rumor has it.
Wait, is that
Adele?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Rumor has it.
Sung by Homer Simpson.
Drink, I guess. That it was the cover for the game was made before they had made the decision or disseminated the decision that the toy company had made to make the characters unique by giving them different headbands. And I believe the toys did different headbands and different shades of green for the toys, and then the cartoon just did the headbands because it was easier for production. And the game, I think, probably had to go in and change the headbands at some point.
Yeah.
In the game, but not the art for the cover of the NES game. So like that's why the cover had all red headbands, but the game itself had the colored headbands.
Can you imagine how stressful that would have been on Splinter?
Splinter would know.
Raphael. Nope, Michelangelo. Oh, Raphael.
Back to Spider-Verse. I think we talked a bit about the style, enough about it. I think it was really good, but you brought up a point. Are we going to get tired of it? And I think that the answer to the question is yes, but I don't think it's not because we're tired of it now. I think it's one of those things. It's kind of like R-rated comic book movies, right? Deadpool, Logan. You can have more than one that are like good and they're fun and they're but then you do too many of them and it's like it's just, I know you're just doing it to make a rated R comic book movie. Like that's not, and then you get frustrated with it because there's not a meaning behind it. There's not a reason behind it. Deadpool needed to be rated R. And I do think that Logan we've had this argument / friendly debate with a friend of ours about Logan and about how I think that it did need to be rated R to show the weight of like not that he doesn't want to be violent, but just come into terms with the fact that that's who he is. He's built to be a violent, up close, knives in your fist killer. Other mutants get to like blast from like 100 feet away. They get to like pick people up and like put them over into another place. But that's not what his power is. His power is berserker, and that's now. Are you thinking?
Yep.
Are you thinking Clerks? Berserker. Another drink. Another song. Okay. Yes, I think that in terms of that, and I'm gonna now bring up the Turtles again because you brought them up, and we talked about the Turtles a fair amount, and we are of course going to watch it. I am very excited for the new Turtles. I want to say that outright.
Yeah.
The director is great. I did not actually very much like Mitchell's versus the Machines, but that was more the comedy. I have a hard time with that kind of comedy, which makes me a little worried, I guess, about the comedy in this movie. But early trailers are like good, and I was looking forward to Mitchell's versus Machines, if you remember.
Yeah.
Which I forget now what it was called originally.
It was something completely different.
It was I don't know. It was like
I think it was just the name of the family.
It was like Road Trip or something like that. It was like something very innocuous.
Yeah.
But like, I was looking forward to it, but I also thought that I was going to get a lot more of that dog. I thought it was going to be,
Yeah.
I didn't think it was really going to be what it was. I think it's smart to change it to Mitchell versus the Machines because I think when I first saw it, I didn't really realize what it was going to be. And then when I saw it, style-wise was very good. Animation was very good. The acting, the voice acting, everything was very good. It just didn't hit with me. And it kind of, the comedy kind of made me get to a point where I was like, maybe I don't need to. And unfortunately, I have to say I did not finish it.
I did the same thing. I stopped it.
It was
halfway.
just a little cringy for me. But I know people loved it, and I know, and some people that's the comedy that they love. They love that thing, and I don't think it's a bad movie by any means, and it was very successful and did very well. So I don't feel bad about saying it now because it's kind of past that point, and I would totally recommend it to people. Yeah. I just did not viscerally enjoy it in a way that, like, eventually I'll finish watching it, but more out of an academic kind of thing. I felt like I got enough of the style to talk about it and to like enjoy it. But I saw enough of his stuff. I saw his thesis film, by the way, which is really funny. It's a simple concept. It's just like, I think it's like a baby. I forget what the baby wants. The baby wants something. It's like this toddler, I think, wants a toy. And I don't know, someone makes some sort of joke about, or not joke. I forget how it starts, but it's like the concept of like, if you had a job, then you could earn the money and you could buy your own, stuff or whatever. And so the baby gets a job in like a cubicle and starts out like really enthusiastic, and then it just kind of beats the baby down over time. And anyway, it's very funny. But that director then ends up making Mitchell's versus the Machines. The style, really fun, really great. And now doing Turtles. And I think that it is a bit of a... I hate to say graduation because I think Mitchell's versus the Machines, I think was exceptional in its style. But I really appreciate the fact that it is sticking with one style.
Yeah.
This is the style that it's going with. It's going with this painterly style, giving a lot of expressiveness and a lot of textural feelings. I kind of like this new era of animated movies where I feel like I can like reach out and touch the screen. I can feel like the texture of the paint, you know what I mean? That kind of feeling. Whereas before it was really neat where you felt like you could reach out and you could tussle Sully's hair in Monsters, Inc., like that was kind of a fun era where it was that
figuring
kind
out,
of texture, yeah.
Because you look now, like, a lot of people and things look rubbery.
Right.
Everyone looked like toys, and that's why they did Toy Story. Well, not the main reason, but they were just like,
if it wasn't, it was a very smart decision.
They look like toys anyway. So
I mean, I think it is why they did it. And I think it's why they didn't show the mom. They had to show the kid. They had to show Sid. I rhymed.
Gotta show the kid. Gotta show Sid.
Go ahead.
Gotta make a bid.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you 20 quid.
Let's keep going. Oh, well, okay. to wrap up this portion of it, I guess.
That's right, just do wrap.
Yeah, no, you didn't. The style.
Yeah.
This style with the drastic changing of styles between the different characters and the different backgrounds. Like I said, Gwen Stacy's the backgrounds are more painterly, whereas Miles Morales' universe has that chroma separation for things. It's a bit more on the printing comics kind of look. And then you have Spider-Man 2099, who has those sketch lines that kind of come outside of his shoulders and his head. And you have Spot, where you can see the construction lines. You can see the construction circles of his head and his shoulders and things. And then you have Spider-Punk, that is a very it's like a poster for like the Clash or something. It's like very Ramones kind of that newspaper Xerox.
Like if you're writing a kidnap note or something, you're cutting out.
Well, I was gonna say it's the collage style. It's the punk, it's the punk show poster collage style, where it's like his guitar looks like it was cut out of a magazine, like haphazardly and like pasted on. And sometimes he's in black and white, which is kind of harkening to that kind of like where people take like a photo of themselves and then they would like Xerox it, and it would just be super high contrast. And so their faces would get all kind of messed up, and that because you had to Xerox that to put other stuff on top of it to Xerox it again, and so it was a copy of a copy, and that's how that style became. So like that kind of stuff is really cool. And so each group, I guess, each spider gets its own style, although the first few are a little more similar, right? So Gwen Morales and Pav from Spider-Man India. Those are a little bit more similar. Then you have more of the differences, I think, in the backgrounds and the environment of how it's painted and how it's rendered. I really think it works in a multi-dimensional, multiverse kind of thing. I just don't feel like you can do that too much in like I'm thinking of Captain Underpants, right? Where it's CG, it's very cartoony, but then there's this whole I forget the book now. It's a whole storybook version. What's it called? It's famous in the. I didn't read it, and like I know my nephew liked it, but I don't remember it. But there's a particular thing, a particular convention where it changes style in the movie, and it's called back to the books and stuff like that. So like you can change styles in movies for that reason. They do it in Bob's Burgers all the time when the kids are talking about a plan that they have this little thought cloud that comes above them, and this like stick figures and a different style. So I do appreciate, and I do think it is good that we are just accepting the fact that we're not bound by stylistic needs and stylistic decisions anymore in that way. It can be whatever you want. It's what makes sense for the story, what makes sense for the goal. And I think the story of the mutant mayhem for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I think it makes sense for that painterly style. The color palette that they have, it's both vibrant and gritty and sewer shadow based, kind of it still has the fun, but it still has a little bit of that kind of like they're mutants living in a sewer. You don't want to lose that, but you want to be for kids, and you want to have like the fun mutant aspect of it. And I think that really fits. And if they're going to have some moments where they kind of break outside of that and do a slightly different style in the movie, okay, fine. But I think that is going to be where this is what I was saying about that's going to be acceptable, that's going to be the good use of this, is when you take the lessons learned of what we can do in a movie, and this just like broke it all open. Do what you want. Do what makes sense for the moment, for the character, for the movie. If movies do that, then yes, any style I think is going to be great, because it's really going to be it's going to be style agnostic. It's just going to be what makes sense for the movie, not we're making a movie in this style because that's the hot thing of the moment. And if movies take the lesson from this that, oh, people just like this zany, multiple styles all in one, I think we're going to get tired of it real fast, because it works in this one. Yeah. I don't think it's going to work very well in another one.
It's definitely a movie also that, a lot of movies afterwards will have like an animated series following that or something. But I don't think you could do it justice to do this as an animated series.
I mean, I don't know. It's okay, so that was style. Let's go into animation technique. So we've been talking for an hour. It's actually kind of oddly, usually when we do that, isn't that funny? Like, we usually transition to talking about, like, after about an hour, we end up talking about animation for some reason. Because all that stuff needs to go into it. But there's like some specifics about animation. And the one thing I heard people talking about it, like, oh, there's so many like hand-drawn moments in there. I don't know for sure how many hand-drawn moments there are. I have a feeling like most of the hand-drawn moments are more on the textural effects-based kind of things on that front. There are, quote, 2D characters in it. But most of the 2D characters that I saw were CG characters that were rendered in 2D.
Like what they did with the Chippendale.
Right, exactly. Yes. Yeah, like that. Which is not awful on its own. I mean, it's really hard to tell. And I think there's probably some cases where it might actually be literally 2D just put into... Have you seen... There's a guy that I follow, and I'm so bad because I do not remember his name, but if you look up 2D rig Maya, you'll see a guy who has like kind of a pencil eraser body, no neck to one head kind of thing, kind of cartoon looking character. Yeah. That guy. He does this really kind of impressive 2D style rig using Maya. And I wonder if maybe they did something similar to that for some of the characters, though it does not come out looking as cartoony as his did. It actually looks more. It has more of the 3D parallax than it does the 2.5D parallax, where it kind of like slides across the face. Yeah, it's not a face slide. It's an actual turning of the head and then just rendered in a different way.
Yeah, I never mind that style. The Chippendale movie came up. People were just like really angry at that.
No, I thought it was fine, and I thought it was I think we talked about it. I thought it was mostly fine because you're gonna want the characters to interact with things, and I think that's also the main reason why you have there's so many things that are going into so many of these sequences that you're gonna want to have them all in the same programming language somehow. So I think everything probably had to be built in the same program. If it was Maya, then it's Maya. Just so that you can approach them correctly, because otherwise it'd be a compositing nightmare.
Yeah, and you could respect the extra effort, but if you don't have to do it, you don't have to do it. I don't think it's...
Well, yes, and that's the other thing is that, like, some of them, I'm sure that there was a couple moments where, like, I got to imagine that the 60s Spider-Man, I could do anything that he can do, that kind of him coming out and then you that they got a big laugh in the theater. It's a very, very short, small moment. So if anyone just got mad at me spoiling that moment, believe me, there's 100 more.
Oh yeah.
But like those kinds of things are, I think probably 2D, but my assumption is those are 2D that's brought into Maya and like layered in that way. So yes, it's 2D, but not really, not hand drawn in the way that we know hand drawn animation, where it's like, done through rough animation, then clean up and like all strictly 2D. I think it was probably stuff that was built in Maya. I don't know for sure.
So what you're saying is 2D or not 2D?
That is the question.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, and we literally just watched it, so I could be dead wrong. But I was looking at some of the characters, like they had a Spectacular Spider-Man, I think, was in it. I think that was his design. Could have been Ultimate Spider-Man. I have a hard time distinguishing between the two of those just on the surface from the animated series. I mean. And I really liked Spectacular Spider-Man. I thought that was a fantastic series. It was very, very good.
Was that the one on MTV?
No. That, what was that one called? The one with Neil Patrick Harris?
Yeah.
I forget what that was called. Shoot.
But you're talking about the one that was
it's a 2D animated one. It was the one with the huge, like hockey puck pupils, like full color pupils.
It wasn't when I went Spider-Man.
No. That was the 90s.
Spider-Man.
No, that was the 90s one. That was Joe Perry, I think, from Aerosmith, who did that.
The theme song?
The theme song, yeah. I think so. I keep saying think so because I just want to. I want to have an out, but I'm pretty sure that's right. If I'm wrong, I'll cut it out, and you'll never know. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So, shoot. Now I don't know what I was saying. Style, yes.
And you were describing the 2D elements.
I was talking animation technique specifically because to get that style, I think it is all 3D. It's just the style that they got was really was, I think. It was, I don't want to say filters. It was stuff that it was compositing that went on top of it. And I think the 2D animation portion of it was probably effects based. Obviously, they had to draw lines on the rigs, and that might have been a post processing situation. I'm actually not 100% sure on that. Like there were some times when Gwen's jawline distracted me a little bit. I kind of feel like when she was in profile, they probably should have done away with it.
Yeah.
And then when she turns 3Q or to the camera, put it back. But like, it's just super minor quibbles. Like I noticed that you see Mary Jane at one point, and her lip sync was off in her first two lines. I don't know if it was our theater, but it was just a little off. It was a little delayed, and I was like, well, there's my one nitpick from this masterpiece of a movie. The animation was really, really good, but the thing, you can talk about style and you can talk about the stuff all day. What it comes down to really when you're talking animation, for my money, is acting. And the acting was so good.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. And especially, yes, the action scenes were good. Yes, the fun, bombastic way that they go through the dimensions, very good. The thing that impressed me the most was that rooftop party.
Oh, yeah.
That rooftop party seems so simple, but they have dozens of unique extras, unique characters that are there that they basically need to be hero characters. They need to have hero designs, meaning like if you look at them, they can stand up to their own designs. A lot of times you design people for the background. They can just be like, recycle people, mix and match, whatever. These were all like, they all felt like real people, real designs. Like they might have been designed off of people who worked on the movie. I don't know. They looked like, even the costume design I was so impressed by. And I don't mean the costumes of the spider characters. What I mean is, on that rooftop, the t-shirts, the summer dresses, the hoodies and jackets, the button-ups and button-downs, and all the jewelry, the hairstyles, everything felt so well curated to people.
Yeah, it seems like everyone has their actual life to live after
they are
this.
people.
Yeah, once we're not watching it, they're still living in this world.
It's a perfect example of how design in that case, and not the animation, can really tell a story of like, yes, you believe it instantly. Your eyes, as soon as you see it, these are all people. Yeah. There are some times where all it takes is a second to realize, oh, this is just like a background kind of character. It's just kind of, and you see it sometimes. It's just like, oh, this is just kind of a character they need to throw together or whatever. That party felt so like, I don't know how much and not only that, they had to walk through people, and it was crowded. And it's not like the opening shot of Gwen Stacy, which was impressive also, that kind of not time lapse, but walking through a crowd, and the style was changing, and her being on the subway and then on the sidewalk and everything, like that was also very impressive. But in that, there's kind of cuts that happen basically. I'm assuming that is a bit of a compositing challenge, and I'm sure this is a compositing challenge as well, but it feels like that party, the way that they needed to have him, because it was kind of him talking to his two parents, like on the part. So it was like a 3-person ballet on this rooftop going through people. And then when they had the kind of discussion argument thing on the top, and it started to get more and more elevated, and they had the DJ in the back, like, push up the music. He was like, he's a good DJ. Like, he was just trying to help out,
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where like he just turned it off. It's just like, all right, listen, it is what it is. Like, you're just if this is what you're gonna do, like, it's awkward, but no, I that whole sequence, I just thought, this to me makes the movie because it grounds the movie. Yeah. And it grounded the movie in a reality that needed it so badly. So we just went through 20 minutes, another 20 minutes, I think, of like action scene. And it was actually, the reason for the party is actually really important that you find out later. Mm-hmm. But
I saw a specific Puerto Rican food that it was.
Oh, the food looked good when they
patele, like, which is like I think it's like banana with meat, and it's wrapped up in a kind of like a leaf thing, and they had that there. I was like, oh, they did their research.
I had that. Your parents sent it back to our apartment. After,
I have a whole freezer full of them.
Yeah. The gummy stuff.
Yeah. There's a brown one, and there's the yellow one that's like we call it juca.
It was I think it had us. It like held us for a month. I think like all the stuff that we brought back and like put in the freezer.
There's always one olive there, and you got to be careful because sometimes there's the pit, and you
crunch.
Ooh, that hurts.
Yeah, it was very well orchestrated. The acting itself was very, very good. And there was a couple moments where he was talking to his mom, like he was, and I just noticed like his mom's dress and jewelry, and her hair was great because it was in a ponytail, but it was in a ponytail in a way that like it was. There were 3 or 4 like different types of like texture going on based on the length of the hair at the time, like the hair that's like up here by the hairline, and then the longer hair that kind of comes down, and then the hair that was on the outside. It just felt like a hair flex to me.
Yeah.
Like every time you watch an animated movie, it's like, wow, the hair's so good. Wow, the hair's so good. The hair in this movie was actually really impressive in that way because they had really cartoony hair. That guy, Pav, with what he said, he wakes up with like perfect hair.
Oh, yeah.
Like he had hair that was clearly 3 or 4 groups that were kind of moving independently of one another. And that's a very stylistic hair. She didn't have stylistic hair. And it was just kind of like, yeah, we can do that too. We can do realistic hair. It was more like the hair that they would put on a character that they had to do like a digital double of, like a live action movie.
Yeah.
And then he had his hoodie on and a jacket on over it. And it just felt like the costumes, it was not jeans and t-shirt, like everyone in jeans and t-shirt, or maybe having like a button-up shirt over it. It really felt like there was a real costume designer, and there was a costume designer that was credited on the film, and I'm assuming that a lot of the credit would go to them. I don't know if they were focusing on the superhero costumes. But what really impressed me were the costumes on that rooftop.
Yeah, I mean the attention to detail, especially with New York itself. It's
the skyline.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
That scene where they're just kind of like overlooking the city, and yeah, a lot of superheroes movies do that, but it was daytime, and it also looked really just really good. It looked almost realistic, but they had their way of making it still look cartoony.
Yeah, it had this kind of comic book haze on it. It had this thing that was, it was really, really impressive. Technically, the acting, the other thing that I noticed, and it was that party as well, because so he has to get a cake and he has to bring it to the party, and he's late. And he's like running up the stairs, and he's in his costume. He's in his Spider-Man costume, and he has the cake, and he's like taking out his clothes, throwing the cake in the air, putting on his pants, and like doing. And as he's running up the stairs, and I just had this feeling like that's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that is the essence of Spider-Man, the character. Like every iteration, no matter what dimension, no matter if you have a prefix or a suffix after the word spider, that is that character. It's always, and they touch on that in the story in the movie, where there's just some things that are constant throughout the character, and they touch a bit on the events that happen in the lives. This is like the character. That's that character.
Yeah,
being late for something and just like, trying to hold it down, trying to like, get to the party and also keep this secret identity. And
what I found funny was his dorm mate. Is it dorm mate?
Genki, yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, I'm not gonna help them. Like, and he just pretty much stayed in bed.
Oh yeah, I will say
games.
He said, "I'm not your man in the chair," and that was it.
Yeah,
I think that's he's in the trailer. I will say, if you like that character, he's in the trailer. He's not. He's not in the rest of the movie.
You would think like later on he'll like.
But see, I maybe in the second movie, I thought that was really funny because he's also playing the game. He's also playing Spider-Man on like a PlayStation controller, which is just. It's a funny idea that he's like, I'm not your guy in the chair, while he is literally playing basically the version of a guy in a chair, playing the PlayStation game. That was really great. And there was another moment just like that with where he needed to put on his costume as he was like going down the fire escape, and like but it was a lot of those moments. It was honestly, I thought the strongest stuff in the movie was between him and his parents.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I think
it was nice to just hang out with them more.
And it was, I don't know. Maybe you're turning 40.
Yep.
I'm already 40. And I don't know. I just saw his dad and I was just like, we're not dads. But there was a lot of, I was getting his vibe. There was a lot of things that he was saying. I was like, I understand your frustration in this moment.
Yeah.
I loved them. I love the parents. I love the three of them together. I I really like how you can feel that they love each other. That's not the problem. And that's never the problem. Like when you have problems in a family, it's not always because like it's not like I hate you. I know it's not that. Yeah. They don't do that in this movie. Nobody says that. There's just like circumstances of like life and, you know, parents wanting to be supportive and the kid trying to have his own life and his own, you know, identity, and the parents trying to like prepare him for the world without scaring him and without like hovering over him, and that like hitting that balance. And he doesn't really understand exactly what they mean. He just feels that you know, the confines of it. And when he has that realization, I mean, that just felt like what a moment. Like that to me was like this is the real success of the movie is Miles Morales. You saw in the first movie, he kind of like, he grows up and he gets the feeling of Spider-Man. But in this movie, he really feels like not just Spider-Man. He gets more of Miles Morales in this one. He merges the two together. Yeah. And in a way that's what you want to see from a Spider-Man movie. You want to see like the development of the character is not just in his super, you know, human abilities. It's also how do you balance life, and what is his life? What does he want out of life, and what is his identity? And Miles is not Peter. And Peter is like older, obviously another dimension. He had that mentor relationship with him in that first movie. Yeah. And things, you know, develop through a mentor-mentee relationship as the mentee gets older. They need to take that next step and like discover more for themselves. And I thought they handled that very, very well. So I understand if they wanted to split these into two movies, if that was the reason to give us that and not squeeze that story before you gave a satisfying resolution to the fun comic book story that you're telling, I'm all for it, because that was by far the best stuff. That's the stuff that's going to make me watch it again. It's always hard to pull off a sequel, and I think they did it in a way where it's just... I wish that a lot of animated films and films in general would just put this much effort and into like... Because it's one thing to make something really nice, but story is a huge important part. And then sometimes it's the other way around. Story is great, character's not great. I mean, how many times do we say this about like watching animated movies and just be like, the animation was really great. It was really good, but the story, not great. Or like, God, the story's good, but like the style just like really puts me off. Yeah. Arcane. I didn't think I was going to like Arcane just because like the style, yes. But I don't know. I was like, oh, it's based on a game that like, I don't think I have any interest in playing. I've heard people talk about it. Kind of like, you know, all the stuff that they talk about is, you know when you roll your eyes in your brain, it's kind of like that. Yeah. Hearing people talk about the game, like I can't relate on this one, and people really want to talk a lot about that game. It's probably very fun. It's probably very deep in the campaigns and everything that you go on, and it's just like I can't follow you down this path. Yeah. I'm that way with most games. I think when people start talking about games, they get very, very enthusiastic about them and talk for a long time, just like I do about anything. But yeah, to each their own. So I wasn't really I didn't have high hopes. And the other thing is it started with kids. I generally don't like kids in movies. I just find them annoying, but mostly just because like most of the time, like, well, that's not really a kid. And sometimes they just use kid as a shorthand to make them do something stupid to move the plot along. It's just like, why are you doing that? Like if you're watching From right now. Oh, I am caught up. On From. Oh, good. We need to talk about that afterward. And we need to talk about Barry. And we need to talk about Succession. It's funny because I just saw you yesterday. I'm gonna see you tomorrow, and God, yeah, it's just there's so much to catch up on. I did want to mention one thing, and I think I want to get his name right, but there's a sequence in it, and this isn't spoiling anything. It's literally just a quick moment, but there's a Lego Spider-Man moment in there, and I want you to know this because I want you to look for it, because that apparently was done by one 14-year-old kid.
What?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Go ahead and
I thought that was kind of just since they did the Lego movie, that they just kind of use assets, whatever the word I'm looking
Preston
for.
Mutanga, a young 14-year-old animator. Basically, I guess he did these like Lego-fied version of Spider-Man on his YouTube page, which I just started following.
Man, can you imagine getting that handed to you at 14?
Lego me _the OG.
My animation at 14
He's definitely 14.
Was not great.
And his thing just says, I'm 14 and I animate CGI Lego stuff for fun. So that was done in Blender, I think, to make it look like Lego. Just a lot like the Lego movie, a lot like Animal Logic did with the Lego movie. But I mean, you see like all of his, I'm saying like a lot, but you see his channel.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some of his stuff.
He has a lot of superhero things. He has a Shrek one. He has Batman. And then he has a bunch of like Spider-Man stuff, Star Wars, that sort of thing. Anyway,
that's great.
So yeah, I guess they just saw it and they got him to do that sequence, and he just did the sequence by himself. And it kind of reminded me of Turtles Forever when they had that whole like sequence where you saw all of the different dimensions, and a lot of it was like fan art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, it's cool that they like reach out to small creators. Well, I don't know if he's a small creator. But
he's 14. He's a small creator.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully it does get to his head.
I mean, how can it not? But I think no matter what, he's very talented.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of talent at that age, if he keeps working on it, turns into massive skill.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already skilled, but like to be able to do something that young takes a level of talent, and then to add to that a work ethic and dedication that turns into a very well developed skill. I think he's going to be really, really good if he stays at it. But yeah,
once he turns 18, that's it.
The animation stuff. What does that mean?
I don't know. It just seems like something a dad would say.
Sure.
Once he has his first beer, it's all going to go downhill. No.
Who's the dad? Is it Mahershala Ali is the dad in Spider-Verse? Is that right?
Oh.
Blade. The new Blade.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
He's very good in this, but I really feel like the standout is the mom.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
The parents in general are very good. They're definitely my favorite. And also, you can't have a titular character like Miles Morales and not have him be good. And, sometimes it can be a little questionable, especially when they're on the younger side. I don't know how old the person is now, because obviously it's after the first movie, but he did a very good job.
Yeah.
And Spider-Gwen as well. Like, all the actors did really, really well. And I think Oscar Isaac was Spider-Man 2099.
Oh,
or
okay.
Yeah, was it 2099? Yeah, because he did the voice when he showed up in the first movie. So he just kind of like came back in a bigger role.
Oh, I didn't know he was in the first one.
Yeah. No, it's very good. And she is Luna Lauren Velez. I guess she was in Dexter, which I never saw. She was also in Oz, which I did see, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
Because I was young and probably not supposed to be watching it. No, but she's very, very good, and the animation on her was I don't know how this particular team did it. If they had lead character animators per character, or if they just had like a supervising animator and then a lead animator. Like I don't know exactly how they broke it up. I didn't really look up the breakdown of the cast or the crew, but all of the parent stuff was very good. All of the Miles stuff was very good. Gwen stuff was all very good. But I feel like it was really the three of their movies on on not just an acting, story, animation. Like the attention was 100% like really given to them, and it absolutely should have been.
Yeah.
There were some fun other things. The action scenes were like storyboard artist's dream. Mm-hmm. The cuts that they had to show when someone was just like picking something up or like putting something down, like everything was perfectly framed and just had this wonderful style to it. I love the expressions.
The mood, when the mood changes in things, it's just it's put together so well.
Yeah.
From things just being light and when things just get like serious, And I was worried because at some point I felt like they were gonna joke too much about overdo it with the jokes, but they found a good balance when things got serious.
Do you have anything to say about the animation itself, like the animation? I feel like I had maybe more to say on the technical side of things, and actually not as much I think as I thought I was going to, because it is very similar to the first one. It's just more of it, and it's more CG. I thought I was going to have more to say on the 2D aspect of it, but I think it was just so dominated by CG that I think it was.
I like the shape of Spot.
He's really, really fun. He kind of
has
looks
like a big torso,
with
like skinny legs and skinny arms, and like it's
only
like
people who are playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will understand what I mean by saying he's shaped like a Gibdo.
Oh boy.
It's just this kind of like this kind of weird lumbering zombie-like kind of mutant creature thing. He's got really long legs, kind of like a teardrop torso.
It's like if Slender Man,
when he has no clothes on, when he's like what is that, a suit? He's like, no, unfortunately for both of us, this is my skin.
Yeah.
And I just like the amount that he said, like it's like, I see, it's my holes, the answer's in my holes.
It was a really fun, goofy bad guy. Like,
he turns.
Yeah.
Like he graduates. And because I will say that if I knew that he was going to be the villain throughout the whole thing, I was like, well, okay, but he's so silly. I love the development. Mm-hmm. I love the development of the character. Every single thing about the character as a villain, I really loved. And I loved how I'm sure that he's going to be like, in it, in a big way in the second one. Again, not a spoiler, because it's not gonna get resolved here, and they already said he's the villain of the movie before it was even a thing. But there is another antagonist, and it's just fun to see like how everything develops. And I thought it was very, very well done. I heard people say like the best animated movie. I think Slow Down. I think it's.
You didn't see Food Fight.
It's very, very good, and I think that we probably need to start talking about it now in terms of what its impact is going to be on movies going forward, which is something that you just talked about, and its use of the story, its balance of the story, I think is done very, very well. Best animated movie is something I don't think you can say opening weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta let it breathe.
Some people get out the theater and they're just riding that emotion and go like, that was the greatest thing ever.
It's like festival high or whatever. Yeah. It's like you ever see you see a concert in person, you're like, that was the best concert ever, and then you go to like look it up later, see if like it was ever filmed or anything, and you're like, oh no, this does not play the same way.
I was really drunk.
Yeah, I think that's
how do you what are your thoughts on some of the is this a spoiler saying live action?
No, because they actually do bring that up. No, I liked it. I liked having some of the there's a couple live action moments in there, and it's going to be obvious what they are, and they just really fit. That's why I think it's not really a spoiler. And there's a couple moments that are just fun that I think no matter, even if you know that there's live action moments, it doesn't take anything away.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different mediums that are at play.
Would have been nice to see a stop motion.
It would have been nice to see stop
Spider-Man,
motion. I would have liked to see. So this is the thing that I was going to mention. There was a movie that was canceled. It never came out. I think it was Bill Hader that was going to be the voice of this character. It was called My Shadow and Me, I think is what it was called.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. I think it was going to be a DreamWorks movie. I don't remember why it was canceled. It's pulling from the recesses of my brain at the moment, but I seem to remember them saying something like it was going to be a CG character and then it was going to be 2D animated Shadow. Yeah. And I really liked that idea. I don't know if that's the way it was actually going to be done, but I thought that was really fun. It's kind of like, it's kind of like when you have stop motion, and then you had like Nightmare Before Christmas, you had like the shadow, hand drawn shadow,
some of the ghosts,
and Zero, and like that kind of stuff. I think is cool, and I do like the use of, and the other thing I was going to say about Arcane is that there's a scene in this. Where it's involving Spider-Gwen, where she's like backpedaling, and it has this big wide shot and everything, and it's just something about that shot. And she already has that look. She has that like, it's like not an undercut, it's like a part cut. Yeah. But she already has like that kind of hairstyle and stuff. And I just looked at it and I was like, God, that's so Arcane. It's so like from that show that was the thing about that series that I thought was so impressive, is it held up that style. And I thought that choreography and that animation was done incredibly well. I was so impressed with that. And I know it's early days, but I would probably put that on par with this. But it's a lot. It's a lot more. It's a lot more style. It's a lot more stuff. It is very comic booky.
Yeah.
It is so comic booky.
It's going to be one of those when you can stream it, you're going to pause a lot just to look at everything, all the characters in the background.
Yeah.
Whether it's the rooftop party or just that Spider-Man hub, that spider hub.
This is definitely going to be one of those things I'm going to want to, like, I'm going to want to get this trilogy when it comes out, and I'm going to want to buy it. I'm going to want to have all the special features because they're going to pack on a bunch of stuff on whatever that set is. I'm going to buy all those. I'm going to be very happy with that in my collection. I think it's a great movie. It's going to end up being an important movie. I still think the first Spider-Verse is going to get the credit really for being the one that kind of like, that's going to have that staying power. Like I said, people knowing what twos means as a animation convention, and kind of helping to break through that style. I think you had things like the Peanuts movie, you had Captain Underpants, and you have Paperman, and I brought up these other things. You had these that did do this merging of 2D aesthetic, 3D workflow. I think Spider-Verse is the thing that was so incredibly popular, and the show and the movie was so good, because I know that people didn't really like the Peanuts movie, even though like there was a lot of like really good things in the Peanuts movie. but I think that this is going to be that cultural touchstone that people are going to remember as like, this is when animation shifted, which is not entirely true, but I think it is an inflection point for this, style of animation, this new wave of animation.
Yeah, because there's Pixar and then there's Sony.
This one's Sony.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, Minions, are they
Illumination?
Oh, okay,
and and so that was
so there's these really round
Super
designs.
Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, and seeing something like this was it's just refreshing, until it gets out of control, much like the Spider-Verse story.
I got it. Yeah. I know what you're doing. Okay, I think I'm looking through my haphazardly written notes on sticky pad, seeing if I am missing anything. But no, I think it's all good. There was only one thing that I didn't mention, which was just it moves so fast. That it's just an action scene, and the action scenes are pretty long. They're all like 8 minutes, 7-8 minutes. It's action scene, then a couple minutes of kind of just setting up, and then another action scene. There was even an exposition with Miles and Gwen. Gwen, when they're like swinging through the city, and it's just exposition. They're just talking, but they're having kind of like a race.
Yeah.
While they're doing it, and it also it worked triply well because it wasn't all it seems to be either. So, no, it's very. What?
You just reminded me of who's that late night talk show host, Johnny Carson, because you were holding the
like a cue card, like was it all it seems to. I think there's a quote on here that I'm not going to read, but there is a quote I will say. Let's see. It is 45. It is exactly 1 hour and 45 minutes into the movie. Miles Morales says what I think is like the real culmination of his arc. He says it in 2 sentences.
Yeah, it's like his version of "with great power comes great responsibility."
Kinda, not really, but kind of. Yeah, I guess so. That might have been what they're going for, but I think it's a bit. I think it has a different place in his story.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, glowing review. I think you should look out for as many of the background characters as you can, and just have fun with it. Just enjoy the ride. It is 2 hours and 20 minutes, but it's 2 hours and 15 what I recorded door to door before it gets to. We saw it in the theater, and the movie started at 4:15. The movie started at 4, but the actual film started at 4:15, and then the to be continued came up at 6:30.
Yeah, and it's a long 2 hours, but there was never a time where I was just like, oh my god, is this over already?
Right. Well, speaking of it, is it over already? That'll do it for this episode of the Rubber and Animation Podcast. Thank you for continuing to support and continuing to listen. Obviously, there's a lot going on at the moment in our lives, but hey, we're out of jobs, so I guess we're gonna maybe record a bit after after you celebrate your 40th.
Oh yeah,
you old man.
Oh man, my back.
I mean,
my ache and everything.
You're gonna say that a lot. it was fun to watch it. We have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that I'm very much looking forward to. We also have a ton of stories that we need to go through. Like I said, we might touch more on like the WGA. The DGA got their deal. SAG actually started negotiating, I think, yesterday.
So I still have time to write my protest sign.
What? Oh, yes. Wait, are you in SAG?
No. But I'm gonna go protest, and I'm gonna write.
Oh, solidarity. Yeah. Right, yeah.
I'm gonna write
with your union brothers and sisters.
I'm gonna write. You gotta write. Wait. Oh, yeah. Hold up. You gotta fight for your right to write. Is what I'm gonna write on my sign.
Right.
All right, we can end the show now.
So, we are ending the show. Mr. Rob UFO, why don't you tell them how they can follow you on the internet?
I waited a long time to tell you that joke. You can catch me at Rob UFO. I'm gonna say it's just Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and I make all kinds of fun content. And and Twitter as well. All kinds of fun shenanigans on there. Stephen Brooks, how about you?
Well, I'm Stephen Brooks. I'm the Rubber Onion. You can follow me at Rubber Onion everywhere. I'm going to be posting things on Patreon and the Discord first, and then after that will probably be Instagram and Facebook. Hopefully, I will have some content to throw up on YouTube before the year is out, but that's a much longer thing.
So you can look up that in the World Wide Web.
Oh, because of Spider-Man, right? Okay. Thanks for joining, everyone. Bye. How do you want to end it?
I kind of miss Spider-Man movies ending with the band Saliva.
So wait.
Was it Saliva?
No.
And
Nickelback?
You know that a hero
yeah, that's Nickelback.
Oh,
that's Nickelback.
Why did I think it was Saliva?
I don't know. Is that Tick Tick Boom? What's that? What's
That's what it should have ended with.
Tick Tick Boom. No, I don't think
to
that.
be continued.
I think that was like the Hives or something. Who was? What did Saliva do? Or was it Click Click Boom?
Yeah. Click Click.
Yeah. But I was saying Tick Tick Boom, which I think is.
But I think. Didn't Saliva do one song for them?
I don't know. You know what? We will debate this.
To be continued. Damn.